Today I want to talk about Marathon and more specifically why I think it's going to do well and will hold its player base despite what you've seen people on social media say. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a surprising hit come out of a live service game. So we all know the early story about Marathon with the developer Bungie being accused of plagiarism with unrefutable proof from the person, also known as Anti-Real. I can't speak with the facts, but only assumptions when I say it seems like Anti-Real managed to get a nice payout from Bungie from this case, with Anti-Real saying that the art issue had been resolved with Sony and Bungie to their satisfaction. Which, I mean, good on them. Whether or not that story about it being stolen from an old development that used to work there or not is true, something like that shouldn't just happen. You wonder how these things get into a game without somebody checking on these things higher up. So besides that, early on in the game's development, even before all the dramas with the art, Marathon was copying it online by what seemed like almost everyone. If you go back to when this game was first shown on YouTube, I can almost guarantee you with no doubt in my mind that almost every comment on that post would have been dunking on the game. Then they had their first playtest with YouTubers going out to the studio to play the game, and most of them, from what I've had seen anyways, just said that the game wasn't bad, but it was kind of just okay, with many of them feeling like they'd already seen everything the game had to offer early on, and that's not a good sign for a game like this. I've also made videos on Marathon speaking about whether or not I think it could survive, and that was during a time where they had still not really turned things around with the community. Another thing the streamers and YouTubers weren't happy with Marathon was the fact that its game's enemies felt too easy and the game was seemingly missing things that could be automatic features in other games like prox chat. If you go and watch Luke Stevens on YouTube, he said that when he spoke to a dev about prox chat, they said they didn't want prox chat in the game because they don't want people to be toxic to others. That's just a sickening thought process for a game that will absolutely require prox chat to survive. Another thing is Arc Raiders is absolutely proof of that. Now if you go online and look at the trailers, the community seems to have turned their sentiment around. People seem genuinely happy with the game, and I'm one of those people. I think the game looks good now. And look, I'm honestly the perfect example of someone who's happy with how this game looks, who wasn't interested in the game at all when it first few trailers released. I remember seeing this game's first trailer, and even when the rumours of the game first went around online, I thought it seemed pretty boring and bland, to be honest. I thought the art style was alright, but everything seemed to be a bit boring and had me worried it was another cash grab live service game that would flop fast like Concord did. I think the delay that they did to Marathon has worked out amazingly in this game's favour. Most people, including myself, thought it wouldn't really do anything to save the game, with the developers seeming to avoid listening to player feedback. And I think the release and instant success of Arc Raiders has really helped this game out and could help it hold a long-term player base. Since the release of Arc Raiders, Bungie has announced that it has made changes to Marathon, with prox chat now being in the game. They've revamped runner shells, which are just makeovers of their heroes, and we'll call them, seeing as they're basically just hero shooter characters. They're going to be allowing solos, duos and trios, which is massive for a game like this. It's an absolute must. I know I don't like to be forced to party up with random people all the time, and they've also said that the game is now faster paced and more intense, with the atmosphere also playing into that. Since the last 2 or 3 trailers, I noticed basically instantly in those trailers that this game looks so much better now. Things in the environment look much darker and grittier now, and that goes down to simple things like the grass not looking fake anymore and the skies looking darker and stormier. All these things play into the feel of a game, and they've done a great job changing things for the better. Not only that, the trailers also seem darker and heavier, which also reel you in and make you feel so much more interested in the game, and this game needs that. I think, and I've tiptoed around it in another video, that if Arc Raiders didn't release and have success, this game wouldn't have survived either. I think they've really noticed that game's success, and that if they listen to their community, just like Arc Raiders has done so perfectly, they could be onto something with this game and people will come and they will stay, which is exactly what they want to happen. Sony can't really afford another live service flop, and not only that, I'm not sure Bungie would survive if this game flops. The way they've mishandled Destiny 2, I'm sure already has Sony reeling, and I'm sure they wouldn't hesitate to lay off more devs if this game doesn't perform. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because we've already seen too much of that in the gaming industry, and we know that's what's going to happen next. So one concern I have on Marathon is the content. How many maps will the game have, and what size will they be? For an extraction shooter to survive, you need it to be constantly replayable, and not only will the systems that they have in place help that, but they also need a good amount of maps. Battlefield 6 would be my perfect example of this. They seem to have a lack of maps, and big ones at that, at launch, and that game launched with massive success, yet died off at a historic rate. Arc Raiders has proved that you can hold a player base, so if Marathon only has 3 or 4 maps at launch, I really hope they have another 2 or 3 coming very soon after. I'm excited for Marathon now and I can't wait to play it and give you guys my thoughts. From this weekend I'll be playing the Service Slam and giving you my review on the game if I think the game has enough content in it. If it doesn't have enough content, I'll wait until the game comes out to give you my full review. Subscribe to the channel so you can look forward to that. That's all I've got for you guys in this video, and now I want to hear from you guys. Are you excited to try Marathon, and how do you feel about the changes they've made? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.